Welcome to Tinker Club. Welcome to STEAM Club. This week we're going to be looking at non-Newtonian fluids. What? Non-Newtonian fluids? What does that mean? Well, fluid is a scientific way of calling something a liquid. Like water is a fluid and honey is a fluid. It's something that a liquid that you can pour. Non-Newtonian? Does that mean it's not Newtonian? What does Newtonian mean? Well, Newtonian is named after a famous scientist called Isaac Newton. And he had lots of different ideas about how things worked in the world. And he found out that all liquids, well, he thought all liquids behaved in the same way. Where if you poured them, they poured, and if you hit them, they splashed. But then we found out something else called non-Newtonian fluids. So first of all, let's have a look at some regular Newtonian fluids. You've got water. You can see I can very easily pour the water. Okay. Everyone's used to pouring water. And now we're used to honey. And honey is also a Newtonian fluid. And we think about it being sticky. That's because it's part of the sugar in it. But we also say it's very viscous. That's a way of saying that it's thick. You can see when I pour it, it still pours like the water, but it pours much slower. That's because it's nice and thick, nice and viscous. Now stop pouring, that little bit keeps running. Put my lid back on. Tastes good. So there are our Newtonian fluids. All Newtonian fluids act in the same way. The more you tip them up, the faster they pour. Some go faster because they're thin like water, or some go slower because they're viscous and thick like the honey. But then we now get to our non-Newtonian fluids. It breaks the rules. And this is what it is. My green slime here. You can see as I rock it back and forward, it moves. When I get my container, it's looking the same so far. It's pouring. It pours a bit more like the honey than the water. It's looking quite viscous as I pour it in. But we're going to just have to wait and see what happens. Maybe you might have noticed something there. For this next part, I'm going to put on my goggles. When we get our water, what do you think is going to happen when I hit my spoon in it? That's right, it's going to splash. That's why I've got my goggles on. You ready? Whoa! I'm having fun making a mess. What do you think will happen now when I do it to my honey? Well, honey doesn't really splash, does it? Because that's thick and viscous. But you can see it sticks to my spoon, and my spoon goes into the honey. Not as easily as the water, but it still goes into the honey. Let's see now what happens with our non-Newtonian fluid. I hit it. My spoon doesn't go in. In fact, the harder I hit it, I can't get the spoon in at all. That's because the molecules are acting different. Depending on the forces applied to it, they act differently. If we're nice and slow, it looks like a regular liquid because all the little particles can roll over each other and move around. But as soon as I try to press it hard, those particles join back together, they squish up together and become hard. And that's what a non-Newtonian fluid is. Something that's when it's slow, is a nice, easy moving liquid, but as soon as you apply pressure to it, it becomes nice and hard. So, would you like to make your own Oobleck? That's the name of this non-Newtonian fluid. It comes from a book written by Dr. Seuss called Bartholomew and the Oobleck. And that's about rain that fell from clouds, and when it hit the ground, it bounced. And you can find if you get your Oobleck the right consistency, you too can make it bounce. So, how do you make Oobleck? It's a very simple recipe. 2 parts corn flour to 1 part water. So I'm going to put in 2 half cups of flour in 1 half cup of water. And then I'm going to put in, this week I'm going to go with green for my food dye. Put a couple of drops of that in. And then I'm going to get a spoon to stir it with. Okay, get my wooden spoon. Now you'll notice when you start stirring, you'll already be starting to encounter some of those non-Newtonian properties. You're going to have to stir very slowly to get it all mixed up. This could take a while. Don't be tempted to think, oh, it's too thick, I need some more water. No, you just need to take time, let all the water mix with all the flour. Okay, my non-Newtonian fluid, my Oobleck, is ready. Watch me as I pour it out of the bowl. So runny. You can see there's some, it gets slow and fast as the different properties of it being a non-Newtonian fluid take over. Seems to flow so slowly, and it even breaks off in chunks, doesn't pour like water. So here, I've got my tub of Oobleck. You can see it just looks like a liquid that goes back and forward. Looks like I'm going to spill it, but when I get my spoon, I can't put my spoon in. Doesn't matter how hard, in fact, the harder I hit, I can't get it in. Good luck in making your Oobleck. I hope you have a lot of fun playing with it. Remember, the best place to play is outside. Now parents, if it does get spilt and you're having trouble cleaning it up, sprinkle some corn flour over it. Give it a little bit of time, the corn flour will absorb, and it will make the Oobleck go harder, which will make it be easy to grab and pull out for an easier cleanup. I hope you have fun, and I'll see you next time for Tinker Club.